Okay, so welcome to Debate in Reality. We have another debate, and here we have: does alien life really exist the way we think it does? Is it just a form of disinformation or misinformation? So what we're going to have is we're going to have a debate here about whether or not alien life does exist, in whatever shape and form it exists, or does it not. So first, we're going to look at the pro of this conflict. We're going to start out with this image here, and I'm going to offer Mal to come up and talk about
it. In terms of logic and the astronomical nature of the universe, and many billions upon billions of planets, logically speaking, as the law of averages goes, there must be life on other worlds. It's impossible for there not to be. There are many planets that got the same stable situation as we had found on Earth, the same sort of atmosphere, in the same location from their star. There must be life on other planets. It can't just exist on this one single planet out of billions of planets. Logically speaking, it would be impossible.
So what about that image behind you about the hieroglyphics as an example?
Well, that is very interesting. It does look like a spaceship.
Or a helicopter.
Or an helicopter, yeah.
And this is what they say that is found on some pyramid in some place. And we'll play that video and stuff like that. But then it was actually covered over and stuff like that. So do you think that represents proof that there's potential flying machines before there were flying machines?
It's an interesting theory, the idea that life came from other planets to this world many, many thousands of years ago, and bequeathed us their knowledge, as is the case with the Incas and the Egyptians. It is interesting. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure on that. But
of course you are, because you're on the pro side.
Life has been here before. No, I'm on the pro side of the fact that there's life on other planets.
Oh, so you're not on the pro side that life visited here?
I wasn't that pro side, no. But it is possible that life has gone through different stages, as it did on this earth, on other worlds. And people maybe far advanced now on other worlds did come here and visit Earth many thousands of years ago and leaving their technological knowledge behind with the Egyptians, the Incas, the Mayans, and so on.
So in agreement that life does indeed have the possibility of existing in this vast universe that we're in. The point about it is that what we know as time could be different in this relative sense to other places. So we know that we went through a series of eras and stages, and Mesozoic eras and all that other kind of stuff. So why couldn't that have existed on other planets? So where we are now within the atomic age, those other planets could be far past the atomic age. Time is a whole different avenue to them. Which is why, even though that picture is gone now, which is why we have the simple factor that those flying machines represented are not a horse and carriage. It's not Leonardo da Vinci drawing, a flying bird. We do know that in the city of Carthage, there was flying machines. So when man thought that he could be himself like a bird, there had to be an inspiration from somewhere, as opposed to just a bird. Even in Thoth himself, Horus and everything like that, in the whole Egyptian pantheon of gods, is that man flew. So, or bipedal man flew. So in that aspect is that see a flying machine on a pyramid in a hieroglyph is very interesting to prove to, without a shadow of doubt, that life did indeed visit us previously. So, to the con of that argument, bring up Nigel.
Okay, no. So to counter that previous argument, statistically it is indeed likely that there could well be alien life elsewhere in the universe, because there are billions of stars out there which have which may well have planets around them that could support life. Whether that life has ever visited us here on Earth, I'm not at all convinced. I've never seen any convincing evidence of that. Those Egyptian hieroglyphics, there are thousands and thousands of different hieroglyphics, all of different intricate designs and things, and people like to home in on things that just happen to look a little bit like an aeroplane or a helicopter or a spaceship or something, but it could be anything. They were very, very imaginative people back then. They drew all kinds of godlike creatures, birds with human heads and different things like that. So a little doodle on a wall of something that may or may not be a flying machine. Again, I'm not entirely convinced by that at all. As regards the alien visitations that we are supposed to have had, interesting that all alien sightings happen to look humanoid. Why should aliens from far off distant planets look like us? We have evolved on this planet into this environment to have heads and arms and legs and the apparatus of the human body that gets us around and helps us to survive in this environment. But aliens that may have evolved in a completely different environment wouldn't look like us. So when I see a picture of like an alien autopsy and it looks like a human, I'm just thinking, no way. That's just...
Well, like Star Trek.
Well, yeah, I mean, Star Trek is a prime example of science fiction where they show aliens that happen to speak English and look like humans. You know, it's just
Wear gangster outfits or Nazis.
Yeah. So it's just that belongs in the realms of science fiction, as far as I'm concerned. There's no way that any alien life forms on other planets that have evolved in that particular environment would look like us that have evolved in our own environment. It's just too far-fetched for me.
Well, what about the various YouTube sightings where it's absolute proof that there are aliens out there? Somebody snapped a picture with a very bad camera. It wasn't HD at all. It wasn't GoPro at all. What about that?
Well, again, it's just nowhere near convincing enough for me. These things are just too sensationalist. They put the scary music in the background, and they got some guy looking into the camera, talking very convincingly about this is absolute proof. But to me, it's just people horsing around. I don't see it as any kind of scientific evidence at all.
So do you believe, so I hear you saying that like aliens looking like us is a preposterous science fiction, but do you believe in any form of alien life?
Statistically, there could well be, because there are billions of stars in the universe, and many of them will support planets orbiting those stars, and on a few of those planets there could well have been the same kind of conditions that we had here on Earth to support the evolution of life. So statistically, it's highly likely that there could be life out there in the universe, but I don't think it's ever managed to reach us. We certainly can't reach them. Even with our sophisticated technology, we can't get beyond a few 100,000 miles of the Earth. So we can't get to them, they can't get to us. So if there is anyone out there, hi! But we're not going to ever meet, unfortunately.
At the time of the space race, and the time that was considered wagon train to the stars. It was all about exploration. But the main thing about it is that let's take upon this theory of like life existing in other life forms on other planets, which both sides agree. I mean, like that means that also too is those planets, if they are not humanoid like we are, did not develop nuclear power to put into a rocket and send it to space to escape velocity. So just because they have not done that, because they weren't thinking to do so, does not mean they do not exist. Like when Mal talked about the vast planets and moons and stars that are out there, that doesn't mean that just because they exist on that planet, that's like existing in Portugal or Cuba, you know, or the Amazon jungle. They don't know anything about us. You know, they haven't built a telescope. You know, they might have like some kind of giant mirror, who knows? But they haven't done what we have done by following our evolution. So we can't think of them. How come they didn't think like that? How come they don't have cars? How come they don't have petrol? You know, maybe they just don't. You know, so last thing is, let's look at the elements. Like what Star Trek calls dilithium crystals that powers the warp drive. You know, crystals. I mean, like, and they went to a planet one time, oh, we could get some more dilithium crystals to power our warp drive. Just because this life form has not thought of that, does not mean they don't exist. It just means that we are separated, we are parallel, and to say that they don't exist is a fallacy. To say that our government, do not know of life out there, well, there are other various conspiracies, such as the rockets that went up on the moon to blow up something on the moon. Alright? We'll show you a video of that one. So, like, the main thing about it is, we don't know anything that the government chooses us not to know. Remember, it's all about disinformation. So, in final argument, now come up here and...
It is possible that many thousands of years ago, maybe even millions of years ago, life at a different stage of development from another planet that developed far beyond ours may have visited here. But why would they visit here is a big question. I remember seeing a documentary one time about an old guy up in the mountains, a mountain guy, and an old 49er type guy was, and he said that aliens came down and travelled so many thousand light years to Earth, and they arrived there, they gave him a pancake, got back on the craft, and then flew back up to their planet. So they drove
A pancake.
pancake. Give him a pancake.
That's why they came to follow on the
To
third
prove it, he held a pancake up at the camera just before it fell to bits because it was all dried up. So it wasn't a good pancake. It was supposed to have come from a planet.
And that's why they've never come back. With rubbish pancakes.
Yeah, I know, right? What kind of gift is that?
So there is the ridiculous side of things, but that aside, it is possible that life did visit here one time in the past, and maybe visiting us now. I most definitely believe, as indeed did Nigel, that life exists on other worlds. It's got to. I would say that was an assurity of certainty, not a possibility.
All right.
So Chase's thoughts about the governments conspiring to cover up and hide evidence of UFO invasions, UFO visits and so on. These odd conspiracy theories have only arrived since the Cold War, I noticed, when there was a whole cloak of suspicion and secrecy throughout Western society, and it was the whole idea of men in black, hiding things that you don't want to know. This is Cold War paranoia, and we're beyond the Cold War era now. So I think it's time for us to move on and question seriously: would there really be some kind of organisation that was set up specifically to hide evidence of alien invasions? If there was some kind of alien visitation, it would be whichever government, whichever country or nation or government discovered it would be shouting from the rooftops, "Look what we found! Look how clever we are!"
Illuminati!
They wouldn't be hiding things, surely.
Secret order!
I will leave it to Chase to discuss that kind of issue, because again, that's something that just goes beyond my beliefs. So the idea of some kind of elite conspiracy just hiding things from the rest of us is just again, it's just pie in the sky for me. Not my thing.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for giving us a pro and con sign. As you can see, with every pro and con sign, there has to be a form of agreement. So I think what we can say is that we all agree that there is life out there. It's just about how that life is represented to us, the public. So in that fashion is that what we were saying is, when we looked at the Star Trek scenario that we all love so much, it's a complete impossible impossibility and fallacy that there are Nazis or gangsters with cars on other planets. But there is a possibility that life exists in all different forms. Single-celled amoebas, octopi, fish and animals. All of those are forms of life where aliens can represent all of that. But for our mindset in a 2-hour movie or a TV series, it has to be so that way we can understand it. If everybody speaking Klingon for like an episode, like what? And believe it or not, people do know the Klingon dictionary.
Right.
But so with that being said, it's an interesting debate, and we're gonna apply some videos throughout so that way you can see a little bit more in depthness. But I'd like to thank these gentlemen, Nigel and Mine, for at least looking at life as it exists on other planets. And did they visit us? Well, especially in this video, well, not this one, but in the one with the helicopter and the hieroglyphics, just like Flat Earth, I do believe they did, because if you think about the pyramid, man still has not been able to build the pyramid the way it has been built. So our scientists still have not been able to create this perfect triangle, and even though it's a series of steps. But like the thing about it is that on that video it shows because they didn't have the structure to build like scaffolding. I mean, they had their form of scaffolding, but the point, everything, I don't believe that thousands of men are shaving off those rocks to create the point. I do think that, and that's where the Illuminati comes back in, because it's why the eye in the pyramid is their symbol, because it's one of those signs.
Masons.
Oh yeah, it's one of those signs that pre-life. So, thank you for watching. That's the debate. Life on other planets. What do you think? Thank you. Next one. So then, in finality, what did you think, Nigel? How was that for you?
I enjoyed that. It was a very civilised, rational discussion, and I think we both presented our points quite well. So it's. Nice to...
Did you believe the other side or this side?
I wasn't convinced enough by evidence presented by the other side. I need more scientific proof than that. But I'm happy with the way I defended my side.
All right. What about you, Mal? How did you think?
I thought I could maybe mention a few things like we invented the toast right. Now, is that an accident that it looks something like a Klingon's head?
Okay, thanks, Mal.